I'm sure at some point or another you've probably seen a map similar to this, either issued by the Storm Prediction Center or your local weather provider. And after a very recent, large, widespread, severe weather outbreak with numerous tornadoes, damaging wind gusts, and loss of life, it's probably fresh in our memory. Now, usually we get about a 1 to 4 day window or heads up of the possibility of severe weather. After about 4 days, predictability usually gets to be too low, but in some unique situations, we do get those extended outlooks with a % chance of severe weather in an area. Now, what if I were to tell you that just as accurate, or possibly even more accurately, you could have a 50-day outlook or even longer for these severe weather setups, and actually even hurricanes and much, much more. We won't go into too much detail on it, but the weather patterns are actually cycling, and once you break the code, you can forecast months ahead with a great level of precision. This is an outlook issued on the 8th of February from Weather 2020 using the LRC, or the Lizak Recurring Cycle. Again, as I mentioned, the weather patterns are cycling. This was yesterday's outlook for the 29th and 30th, yesterday's day 6 and 7 from the 24th of March. Looking very similar in placement to a prediction made by Weather 2020, and even a prediction that I had made on the 11th of February, highlighting an area where I thought there'd be the highest probability of seeing some severe weather. Now, even from the 11th of February, for these dates at the end of March is about a 50-day heads up. And these outlook areas between the outlook that I had kind of drawn in here and from Weather 2020's outlook, these 50-day outlooks are just as accurate as the day 6 and 7 outlooks from the Storm Prediction Center. Of course, things are going to change a little bit. I mean, even day 1 outlooks will change several times throughout the course of the day, as well as your day 2s and 3s. So we'll continue to see how this evolves, but right now, highlighting in very similar areas on a day 6 and 7 that the LRC was able to predict almost 50 days ago. Let me show you a little proof of this. So here's our outlooks right now for the 6th and 7th current outlooks on the 25th of March. Knowing how long these cycles are, you can go back in time. So if we were to go back one cycle from this, or roughly around 6 weeks ago, that's going to bring us to the 15th of March, where we had a similar outlook, or I should say an outlook in a very similar location. Let's go back another 6 weeks, and in the exact same spot, we're still dealing with another outlook on the 5th of January. And even one cycle before this, we're still seeing the possibility for some storms in that same area. That's because a storm system that's producing this weather continues to target that area through the winter. Now, as we go into the summer, this is going to lift a bit further to the north, and we'll wait to see what this ultimately turns into. But my early suspicions on this would be that this is going to lift a little bit back to the north and to the west, and it very well may look something similar to this, at least in terms of probability of where those worse storms or severe weather would occur, and then as well move a little further to the east on day 2 and affect areas of the east coast. What my main concern is what's heading our way in April. Going to be just a nasty month in my opinion. I made a handful of predictions here on my channel. You can follow it or watch some of the videos. It's just Stormy Weather NGP. Here I'm talking about the storms rolling through at the end of this month and into April, touching on some bad setups that are going to occur, as well as a few later storms that have just happened, including our last setups here on the 18th and 28th of March. As we head into early April and early May, we're going to see outlooks again down in the southeast taking over. May even see some winter storms up here in the beginning of April and even into the middle of April. I think we're going to see a very big storm that's going to bring blizzard conditions to the northern tier of the U.S. and then a large outbreak focusing over Kansas and Oklahoma, Missouri. It should be a very nasty storm. Take a look at this video. This is highlighting the portion of the pattern that we're in right now, and we're likely going to see it re-emerging. Along with that, it's going to be a very, very nasty end of the month setup, at least a very good possibility. We took a look at this at the beginning of this recording here, and this was again the 14th of March, and then that high risk on the 15th of March. Well, the portion of the pattern that produced this storm is going to happen again Will it form another widespread high or moderate risk for severe weather? It's got a very good chance that it's going to, and it's going to be back at the end of April. And again, it may not look identical to this, but within this area, I find the highest possibility of where that severe weather is going to be located at, and it could produce another high risk or a back-to-back moderate risk for severe weather. So be keeping your eye on April as a whole and into March and into May, as it's going to be a very active weather pattern that's going to be heading across the United States.